Are you tired of relying on others for your happiness and fulfillment? In this video, we'll dive into the importance of stopping our dependence on others for our happiness and well-being. Lesson 1. Understand the nature of dependence. Buddhism teaches us to understand the nature of dependence. Life is full of relationships and connections. However, excessive dependence can lead to suffering. When we rely on others for our happiness, we give away our power. This is not the path to peace. The Buddha emphasized self-reliance. He taught that true happiness comes from within. Depending on others can create expectations. Expectations often lead to disappointment. This cycle keeps us trapped in suffering. The first step is to see how dependence works. Dependence begins in the mind. We may think someone else will solve our problems. We may believe we cannot manage without their help. This belief makes us weak. It creates fear and insecurity. Over time, it becomes a habit. The more we depend, the less we trust ourselves. Buddhism calls this clinging. Clinging to others for support keeps us bound to them. This bondage prevents spiritual growth. Buddha taught the principle of impermanence. Everything in life changes. People change. Circumstances change. If we depend on something that changes, our peace is disturbed. We must see this clearly. This understanding helps us let go of unhealthy reliance. We realize that no one else can give us lasting happiness. The teachings of Buddhism encourage us to cultivate independence. Independence does not mean isolation. It means taking responsibility for our own lives. It means accepting that we are the creators of our experience. When we take this step, we stop blaming others. We stop expecting others to carry our burdens. This realization is liberating. It empowers us to face life with courage. The Buddha's life is an example of independence. He left his royal life to seek the truth. He depended on his own effort to find enlightenment. He faced challenges with determination. He proved that self-reliance is possible. His teachings guide us to do the same. We can overcome dependence by practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness helps us see our thoughts clearly. We notice when we cling to others. We learn to pause and reflect. Gradually, we develop the strength to let go. Understanding the nature of dependence requires patience. It takes time to break free from old habits. But every step forward is worth it. With practice, we realize our inner strength. We see that we are capable. We understand that true peace is found within. This understanding is the foundation of self-reliance. Lesson 2. Practice self-awareness. Self-awareness is essential to stop depending on others. It is the ability to observe ourselves. Buddhism teaches us to look inward. When we practice self-awareness, we begin to understand our thoughts. We see our emotions clearly. We notice our patterns of behavior. This practice is powerful. It helps us take control of our lives. The Buddha emphasized mindfulness as a tool for self-awareness. Mindfulness means being present. It means paying attention to what is happening in the moment. When we are mindful, we notice our reactions. We see how we depend on others emotionally. We may seek approval, comfort, or validation. This awareness is the first step to change. Self-awareness helps us identify our triggers. Triggers are situations or people that make us feel dependent. For example, we may feel insecure in certain relationships. We may rely on others to make decisions for us. These patterns can be traced back to our fears. Self-awareness shines a light on these fears. It helps us understand their roots. Buddhism encourages us to practice meditation to deepen self-awareness. Meditation creates a quiet space within. In this space, we can observe ourselves without judgment. We learn to accept our thoughts and feelings. We realize that we are not our emotions. This detachment is liberating. It helps us see our true nature. With self-awareness, we develop clarity. We see where our dependence lies. We understand how it affects us. This clarity allows us to make better choices. Instead of reacting, we respond with wisdom. We choose actions that support our growth. Over time, self-awareness strengthens our independence. We learn to trust ourselves. Self-awareness also helps us set boundaries. When we are aware of our needs, we can communicate them clearly. We stop seeking approval from others. We stop overextending ourselves to please others. Boundaries protect our energy. They help us maintain balance in relationships. Healthy boundaries are a sign of self-respect. The journey of self-awareness is ongoing. It requires regular practice. But each step brings us closer to freedom. As we become more aware, we see our inner potential. We realize that we have everything we need within us. This realization reduces our dependence on others. It strengthens our connection to ourselves. Lesson 3: Develop inner strength. Inner strength is the key to overcoming dependence. Buddhism teaches us to cultivate this strength. Inner strength comes from self-discipline and resilience. It is the ability to face challenges without fear. It is the courage to stand on our own. This strength is not physical. It is a quality of the mind and heart. The Buddha's teachings guide us to develop inner strength. One way is through meditation. Meditation trains the mind to be focused and calm. It helps us face difficulties with equanimity. When we meditate, we observe our thoughts. We notice our fears and doubts. We learn to stay steady. This steadiness builds inner strength. Inner strength also comes from accepting impermanence. Life is full of changes. People leave. Situations shift. If we cling to what is temporary, we suffer. The Buddha taught us to embrace change. Acceptance gives us strength. It helps us adapt and move forward. Compassion is another source of strength. When we cultivate compassion, we connect with others. But we do not depend on them. Compassion comes from a place of inner abundance. It empowers us to help others without losing ourselves. Compassion also helps us forgive. Forgiveness frees us from resentment. It lightens our hearts and strengthens our spirit. Developing inner strength requires patience. It is not built overnight. But every effort we make is valuable. Each challenge we face is an opportunity to grow. Buddhism teaches us to view difficulties as teachers. They show us where we need to strengthen ourselves. When we embrace this mindset, we become unshakable. Inner strength helps us find peace within. It gives us the confidence to live authentically. We stop looking to others for approval or support. We trust our own wisdom. This trust is empowering. It allows us to walk our path with courage. The journey of developing inner strength is a path to freedom. It leads us to self-reliance and true happiness. Lesson 4: Simplify your desires. Buddhism teaches that desire is the root of suffering. To stop depending on others, we must simplify our desires. Desire creates attachment. Attachment leads to clinging. Clinging keeps us trapped in dependence. The Buddha's teachings guide us to free ourselves from this cycle. Simplifying desires means understanding what truly matters. Many of our desires are unnecessary. They are influenced by society, culture, or fear. We may desire material possessions, status, or relationships. These desires often create stress. They make us rely on external things for happiness. Buddhism teaches us to look within for contentment. The first step is to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness helps us observe our desires. We notice what we crave and why. We see how these cravings affect us. For example, we may crave attention or validation. We may seek comfort in material things. Mindfulness helps us question these patterns. It helps us see their emptiness. The next step is to simplify our lives. Buddhism encourages us to let go of excess. This does not mean renouncing everything. It means focusing on what is essential. When we simplify, we create space for peace. We stop chasing after things that do not matter. This reduces our dependence on others and external factors. Gratitude is another practice that helps simplify desires. When we are grateful, we appreciate what we have. We stop comparing ourselves to others. Gratitude shifts our focus from lack to abundance. It helps us see the beauty in simplicity. This shift is powerful. It frees us from the need to seek more. Buddhism also teaches us to practice contentment. Contentment is being satisfied with what we have. It is understanding that true happiness comes from within. When we are content, we stop relying on others to fulfill us. We find joy in the present moment. This joy is unshakable. It is not dependent on external conditions. Simplifying desires requires effort. It is not always easy to let go of cravings. But every step we take brings us closer to freedom. As we simplify, we experience more peace. We feel lighter and more grounded. We realize that we need very little to be happy. This realization is liberating. It helps us stop depending on others. It strengthens our self-reliance and inner peace. Lesson 5. Build skills and confidence. Building skills and confidence is essential for independence. Buddhism teaches us to take responsibility for our lives. This includes developing our abilities. When we have skills, we feel capable. When we are confident, we trust ourselves. These qualities reduce our dependence on others. The Buddha emphasized the importance of effort. He taught that effort leads to growth. We must put in the work to develop ourselves. This includes learning practical skills. It may be communication, problem solving, or self-care. These skills empower us. They make us less reliant on others. Confidence comes from practice. When we apply our skills, we gain experience. This experience builds trust in ourselves. We see that we can handle challenges. Confidence grows with each success. Buddhism encourages us to take small steps. Every small achievement strengthens our confidence. Self-doubt is a common obstacle. It makes us question our abilities. Buddhism teaches us to overcome self-doubt through mindfulness. Mindfulness helps us observe our thoughts. We notice when self-doubt arises. We learn not to believe these thoughts. Instead, we focus on our strengths. We remind ourselves of our potential. Another way to build confidence is to embrace failure. Failure is a natural part of growth. It teaches us valuable lessons. Buddhism encourages us to see failure as a teacher. When we learn from our mistakes, we improve. This improvement builds confidence. It helps us trust our abilities. Buddhism also teaches the importance of patience. Building skills and confidence takes time. It is a gradual process. We must be kind to ourselves. We must celebrate our progress. Patience helps us stay motivated. It reminds us that every effort counts. Developing skills and confidence also includes self-care. When we take care of our well-being, we feel stronger. This includes physical, mental, and emotional care. Self-care helps us maintain balance. It gives us the energy to grow. Buddhism emphasizes the middle way. This means avoiding extremes. We must find a balance between effort and rest. As we build skills and confidence, we become more independent. We stop relying on others to solve our problems. We trust our own wisdom and abilities. This trust is empowering. It allows us to face life with courage. The journey of building skills and confidence is transformative. It leads to self-reliance and inner peace. It is a path to true freedom.